Imagine this. August 25th, 2025. The world is buzzing with the usual noise, social media debates, daily routines, when suddenly breaking news flashes everywhere. The leaders of China and India announce a historic decision, not just a trade deal but a full economic and political union. They call it Chindia, nearly 2.9 billion people, one-third of humanity, under a single banner. The Chinese dragon and Indian elephant, symbols of power and wisdom, now united. The world is stunned. This isn't just a headline, it's a seismic shift. The global balance of power is instantly upended. For centuries, the West, America and Europe, set the rules. Now, Chindia threatens to rewrite them. This isn't just a new superpower, it's a civilizational force with the ambition to reshape the future. Wall Street, Brussels, and capitals worldwide scramble to understand the implications. What happens to the US dollar? NATO, global supply chains? Developing nations wonder, do they align with this new Eastern giant or stick with the old Western powers? The creation of Chindia isn't just a merger, it's the dawn of a new era. Every nation is forced to rethink its place in the world. The West's dominance is suddenly in question. The world order as we know it, rebooted overnight. The sheer scale and symbolism of Chindia would send shockwaves through every global institution. The 21st century story just took a wild turn. The question now, can the rest of the world keep up? The rise of Chindia isn't just possible, it's a scenario that demands attention. The future just got a lot more interesting. Here's the trillion-dollar question. Could Chindia actually overtake the combined might of the US and Europe? The West is a powerhouse. Massive economies, NATO, and global cultural influence. But Chindia's numbers are staggering, nearly 4 times the population of the US and EU combined. Imagine a consumer market of almost 3 billion people. No company could ignore that. Demographic dominance means leverage. Chindia could set global trends and terms. The West's economies are mature and slow-growing, while China and India are still surging. A union would turbocharge their growth, creating an economic engine fueled by ambition. The West would be on defense, Chindia on offense. For decades, the US and Europe set the global agenda and built the world's institutions. Chindia wouldn't just want a seat at the table, it would want to build a new one. This isn't just about economics or military might. It's about whose values and vision will shape the century. The liberal, democratic order faces its biggest challenge yet. Could Chindia topple the West? The potential is real. The world would have to adapt to a new center of gravity. The rules of the game would change, fast. The West's dominance is no longer guaranteed. Chindia's rise would force a global reckoning. The 21st century's power struggle just got a new contender. The world stage is set for a dramatic showdown. Let's talk money. By purchasing power, China is already number 1, India number 3. Combine them, and Chindia's economy nears $50 trillion, bigger than the US and EU combined. This isn't just a lead, it's a game changer. Chindia's internal market would be so vast it could sustain itself without outside help. In nominal GDP, the US still leads, but Chindia's growth rates are much higher. With combined resources, they could close the gap within a decade. They'd be the world's factory, and its biggest shopping mall. China is already the top exporter. India is rising fast in manufacturing and services. Together, they dominate global supply chains, making current dependence on China look minor. Any country crossing them could face major shortages, serious economic leverage. Their workforce? Over 1.5 billion people, an unmatched pool of talent and labor. While the West ages, Chindia's youthful population would drive innovation and keep wages competitive. From factory workers to engineers, they'd outbuild and out-innovate any region. The economic scale would be simply unmatched. Global companies would have to play by Chindia's rules. The world's economic center would shift east, permanently. The West would struggle to keep up with this new economic juggernaut. Chindia's rise would redefine global trade and industry. The future of the world economy would be written in Beijing and New Delhi. The age of Western economic dominance would be over. The world's financial map would never look the same. Now technology. This is where Chindia could become unstoppable. China's hardware and manufacturing power meets India's software and IT expertise. Shenzhen's rapid prototyping and India's software talent, an unbeatable combo. Imagine Chinese smartphones running Indian operating systems, or electric vehicles powered by Indian AI. Together, they could leapfrog the West in 5G, AI, and quantum computing. By pooling R&D, talent, and data, They'd set new global tech standards. They could break dependence on Western semiconductors, building their own supply chains. The world would face a choice: Western tech or Chindian tech. A new digital divide would emerge, with Chindia leading a massive block. The global tech race would be transformed overnight. The West's innovation edge would be under serious threat. The future of technology could belong to Chindia. Let's talk military power. A Chindia union would create the world's largest armed force, over 3.4 million active-duty troops. For context, the US has about 1.3 million. But it's not just about numbers. China's military budget is second only to the US, and India's is close behind. Combined, their defense spending would surpass America's, funding next-gen weaponry. China's navy is the world's largest. India's dominates the Indian Ocean. Together, they'd control critical sea lanes from the South China Sea to the Suez Canal. In the air, thousands of advanced fighter jets. Both are nuclear powers. A united Chindia would have a formidable deterrent. Their strategic focus: secure Asia, project power globally, and push the US out of their backyard. NATO would face a monolithic rival on every front: land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace. The global balance of power would be upended. The US military supremacy would be challenged for the first time in decades. Chindia's military might would force a total rethink of global security. The world's flashpoints would shift east. The age of Western military dominance would be over. But here's the catch. The biggest obstacle isn't the West, it's China and India themselves. These are ancient rivals with a long history of mistrust and conflict. Their 2,000-mile border is disputed, with deadly clashes in recent years. National pride and strategic interests make compromise nearly impossible. The 1962 war left deep scars, and recent skirmishes have only hardened attitudes. Beyond borders, they compete for influence across Asia. China's Belt and Road Initiative encircles India, while India partners with Japan, Australia, and the US. Then there's Pakistan, China's close ally and India's arch-rival. For a union, China would need to rethink its Pakistan ties, and India would have to trust Beijing. Decades of hostility and suspicion make this a monumental challenge. Overcoming it would require unprecedented statesmanship. The historical baggage is immense. The rivalry is part of their national identities. Can old rivals truly become partners? That's the real question. Even if they solve their border and rivalry, another obstacle looms. Their political systems are polar opposites. India is the world's largest democracy, messy, loud, and built on elections and free speech. China is a one-party authoritarian state with centralized power and strict control. Merging these systems? Nearly impossible. Would India give up democracy? Would China share power? Neither is likely. Even a loose alliance would face constant friction over decision-making and values. China's top-down efficiency clashes with India's slow democratic process. Issues like human rights, data privacy, and free speech would be flashpoints. The governance gap is perhaps the most insurmountable obstacle. Oil and water don't mix, and neither do these systems. The ideological divide may be too wide to bridge. Even if Chindia overcame internal hurdles, the global fallout would be huge. India's growing ties with the West, especially the US and the Quad, would be shattered. The US would see this as a strategic betrayal, and trust would evaporate overnight. Japan and Australia would scramble, and the Indo-Pacific security architecture would collapse. China's partnership with Russia would be shaken. Moscow could feel threatened by a new superpower on its border. The developing world would face a stark choice: align with Chindia or the West. The non-aligned movement would be dead. The world would split into two camps, triggering a new Cold War on a grander scale. Every nation would be forced to pick a side. Global alliances would be redrawn overnight. The world would become more polarized and more dangerous. The stakes would be higher than ever. So, is a Chindia union possible? Realistically, it's a geopolitical fantasy. The obstacles, border disputes, rivalry, alliances, and incompatible systems are just too great. The dragon and the elephant are likely to walk separate paths. But imagining this union highlights their untapped potential. Even without merging, their relationship will shape the century. If rivalry continues, instability will follow. But if they cooperate, on climate, health, or development, the world could change for the better. A Chindia-light scenario is more plausible and hopeful. The 21st century story is still being written, and Asia holds the pen. Whether it's conflict or cooperation, the world's future may depend on how these two giants choose to move forward.